all together deeply. And one more time. And it's very important, the vocal cords. So let's inhale once again and exhale through the mouth. And just let the shoulders sink and all the attention, feeling like all the weight and everything going down to the floor. Pretty much our biggest work is always with the nervous system and the mind. And when you produce this sound with the vocal cords, you are actually speaking to your reptilian brain, the primary brain, which doesn't understand the words, nor numbers, nor images, nor understand anything I'm saying now. But if you do, it will understand that everything is okay. So I can be saying, relax, you're in a beautiful space, everything is okay. It will not get this, but it will get the relaxation. And then if the reptilian brain is relaxed, the nervous system starts to relax. And the parasympathetic turns on and starts producing good emotions. So it's a little trick that everybody can use. Yeah. Later you can have a pleasant image of something, either visually with the eyes or imagining, because for the brain it makes no difference. If you're imagining or seeing, it's the same. And this speaks to your limbic brain, which is the emotional mind. Then it gets relaxed. And finally, you can use some words to say, oh, I'm relaxed, I'm powerful, I'm loving. And then this speaks to the neocortex and the rational mind. And in this way, all three brains and all three minds have gotten the message. And if you succeed that, you have done majority of the work. And actually we could say that this is the basics of the title of this encounter, Surrendering to Win, which rationally doesn't sound correct. How do but this preparation is the way of surrendering the weight, the struggle. In a way, I'm admitting that all this forcing it is not helping, is not working. And I've noticed, since ever I started living like this, that things have started to flow. Because I'm not actually surrendering to some idiotic part of myself or to something weak. I am admitting that there is something greater. When I look around the world and I see that Earth spins pretty much at the precise speed every single day for millions of years, it doesn't fail, it never stops to turn. and that it does every year the same number of hours around the sun, and that the rain collects and falls on the ground. Like, it never stays in the clouds. Eventually it always falls on the ground. It's like so precise, and the wind blows, and the oceans have tides up and down, pretty much at the exact hours. You realize, my God, this is not some random system. there must be some intelligence so amazing, so powerful, that it makes flowers blossom and turn into fruits and all these natural forces. So how would my life look like if I admitted that this power greater than me actually knows stuff? If it made me like this, if it made a little embryo grow into a big body, and what did I do? I mean, never did I intend to grow. I never forced it. As an embryo, I don't even remember that period of my life, but I did nothing. And suddenly it grew. And then when I was born, I just had to eat. But I didn't need to know how to digest the food. Like, I have part of responsibility, which is to chew and to swallow. But there it ends. That's pretty much it. All my responsibility is in just a part of the thing. And then when it goes in, I surrender it actually. I surrender the food to an intelligence that knows how to digest it and turn it into useful energy. So as a child, I had a little responsibility to swallow, then as I was growing up to chew and swallow. And then as I grew up to cook and chew and swallow. But there is an end to my responsibility. And still, I only had that, and I played. I would play with other children and sleep. But also, I had pretty much no control over sleep. The sleep would come and I would fall asleep beyond my control. And I would wake up. Even if I wanted to sleep very long, eventually I would still wake up. It would be impossible to sleep forever. So realizing that nothing is so much under my control except few little pieces of it, and that this intelligence that made the body, that the functions, that lungs work and exchange oxygen, I have no clue how they do it. I mean, we studied in school, but I don't need to know. I don't need to know any of that for it to work. Oh my God, I don't need to know how the earth spins for it to spin, or how the sun shines. I'm just enjoying the benefits of all of that. Something is doing it for us. Like the force of life by itself is doing all of it. And as realizing, wow, so little depends on me, if anything, at the end. Why wouldn't I trust that if it got me this far, and it never failed, it's gonna get me further. Until one day it won't, because it will judge it's the end. And in that moment, there is nothing you can do to stop it. When your end comes, it's just there. So this produces an enormous relaxation. It's just, if you look at it negatively, you can feel powerless, in a way condemned, or like, what kind of existence is this? Nothing depends on me. A part of our psyche gets upset, like, what do you mean I have no control? But I do. And then, for example, you have children. I could ask you, do you really have control over your children? Over your husband? Your parents? Do you have control over your government? I mean, you could say that once in 4 years you had some control, but once you put them there, it's pretty much done. There is little you can do. So you don't control the spinning of the earth, the rain, the shining of the sun, the lungs, the kidneys, nothing. And you're like, oh, no children, nor my husband, nor my parents, nor my friends, nor my colleagues, nor my boss. I don't control anybody. And I'm alive. And things work. Wow. So this realization is just acceptance how things are. You're actually not changing anything. You're just stopping the unnecessary part of your psyche that believes it has control and wants to maintain it. And when in my programs I tell people, well, I'm not asking you to let go of control. I'm asking you to let go of your idea that you have control. Because just accepting that you don't. And the little that you have, we don't even have to call it control. It's just a field of opportunity for action. So today, when we went to have lunch, I could choose a combo of soup and wrap or soup and quiche. We could say that I had some control there. Do I eat quiche or do I eat wrap? But if we listen to the findings of Dr. Stephen Hawkins, when he connected those electrodes to the brain of the people, he realized that all the decisions have been made 2.5 seconds before one is aware of it. Then I could even say that the decision for me to have soup and quiche was made 2.5 seconds before I became aware that this is what I want. And actually, I'm not even choosing it. I'm just becoming aware of a desire. I did not invite the desire. I did not invite, oh, I want to feel the desire toward quiche. No, it just appeared and I'm aware of it. And then I say, I'd like a quiche. But I'm just verbalizing something that came out by itself. So I had no play there either. Do I like men or women? Where was my decision there? I mean, intimately. No, something surges and you're aware of it. So you don't even need to make it an identity. You are just being aware of a preference or a desire. No control there either, so eventually as you are peeling these onion, the layers of what actually are you controlling, you're coming down to nothing, because when you peel every layer of onion, nothing is left. There is no seed. There is nothing to begin with, and pretty much this is what you come down. But still, you cannot deny the awareness of the self. You can't deny that there is something here aware of its own existence and of thoughts and of emotions and of the space that is present. Yes. So something is aware. But this something that is aware, I don't see it making choices. I don't see it controlling anything. And if I do accept that the intelligence that made life, that is running life, actually doesn't have a preference how it should be, that it is happy with all the possibilities. If I look at the nature, I can see, yes, in nature, a crocodile eats, a gazelle that is drinking the water in the Nile, or some lizard eats a mosquito. It's like a life consuming life itself. And it made everything. It made pretty things and ugly things, and it made things that can harm other things. So I didn't see judgment. When I look at the nature, when I look at life, I don't see judgment of how things should be. I don't see that life is making a judgment saying, well, I'm not gonna make a crocodile because it could be dangerous for another species. No, it made a crocodile together with the species that can be harmed by the crocodile. And I see, wow, it really doesn't have a preference. It's just wanting to create. It's making it all. And so if it is making it all, and it doesn't show that it has some preference, this life that is aware of itself here should also not have judgment. And then I become aware, is there judgments coming out or not? Where do they come from? And I see that usually they're like, I don't know, here somewhere, or some energy burps up to judge something as ugly or beautiful or likable, unlikable, wanted or unwanted, good or bad. And when it makes this judgment, something starts to control. Something then has like a need to fix it, to say, this no. And it becomes tense. And when it becomes tense, life starts to be difficult. Like the joy, the easiness, the flowing that was happening suddenly feels so heavy. And I do notice it together with the easiness, with the lightness of it. All these mechanisms of energies of wanting to control something, wanting to judge, wanting to get upset appear every day. I don't know if ever they will disappear. I was talking to many different spiritual teachers or observing them. I could see that from them also burp out these energies with one major difference between them and majority of the people is that they are not identifying themselves with these burpings, with these energies that come and go. They don't give them importance. For them is a temporary moment of presence. Something came up, like a crocodile. There is no judgment for it. Oh, it's a crocodile. It's something that barks at somebody. But once it's barked out, there is a smile, there is another thing, because there is no control. There is not wanting to control everything happening. And we could say that this is in a way acceptance. We could say that in the life where there is surrender, it feels like acceptance. It's an absence of judgment of oneself, of the energies burping out, or of the other people or circumstances. Is just like this moment here. Oh, 2 people appeared and 3 members of the team. So, and there are all the energies being present. Yes, one is disappointment, one is resistance, one is, what is the lesson of this? What should I conclude? One is a pure joy. Well, there are 2, 3 people. Well, there is 5 of us. Wow, 5 of us. We're gonna get something today, because everything that it will be said will serve everybody, not just the audience. There is just the awareness that the words are coming out. I'm not thinking what to say. I'm never preparing myself for anything. Everything is always spontaneous, is fresh. It belongs to the moment, and it will never be repeated in this format. Again, it's not a pre-recorded message or a pre-thought event. Yes, it has a line, which is we want to feel what it would mean to surrender and how, but that's pretty much it. And what I can bring up is just this, that even though all these energies exist in parallel, I'm not wanting to give importance to any of them. Why should resistance or disappointment be more important than enjoying with a small group? Who is to judge this? Where is this measure written in the universe? Should I find a board saying, if you have less than 30 people in a conference, it's a failure, you know? Or even if there is nobody, should there be this judgment? Where is the measure? And who is this measure, according to whom? So a true surrender, a true flowing with life is in a way acceptance of the moment, which doesn't mean you need to repeat it. Probably you can always get something out of every situation, because if it has provoked something inside, it's useful. This provocation wants to be acknowledged, wants to be absorbed, integrated, and make some conclusions, maybe how you can do things differently, what life wants from you. But it's never a failure. You can always get a message, you can always get a conclusion about something for yourself for the next step. And when you look at it like that, there is no judgment of good or bad. There is no conclusion, oh, this was a huge success or this was not a success. No. It's a huge success in any way. Yeah. And I started to live like this, like in high school. We were in the middle of the war in Croatia. It lasted 4 years, terrible. My mother, 18 months in the army. And when you are 12 years old or 13 and your parents go to war, or your mother, I think nobody prepares you for this. And nobody treated us like therapeutically for this. I guess they figured out we'll just deal with it on our own as we grow up. But when you are young, you don't realize that you have hidden traumas from that. When you turn 25 or 30 and things start coming out, you're like, oh my God, that was traumatic. Even though when I was 13, it seemed like entertaining or, I don't know, exciting or something was happening, I never considered it so traumatic. But it was. And it was very interesting because until then we lived in Yugoslavia, which was a socialist state, very open and progressive in a way, but there was no talk of a higher force or intelligence of life or spirituality or God or anything. Simply that was put aside. Maybe in some families, yes, it still was the focal point. In my family, no, and in all the people that I knew, I never heard anybody speak about it. My parents were very evolved in thinking, so we would visit churches as artwork and monuments. They never told me anything what they serve for. I just thought, oh, pretty buildings from the past with nice paintings and painted windows. But as the war came and we changed the system to current, let's call it democracy and capitalism, suddenly the church came. The Catholic Church emerged from the graves and took over the country, and they became the new power, the new dogma. We replaced the communism with Catholic Church, and suddenly everybody was being baptized, like mass baptisms of people. So I was like, oh wow, what is this? Everybody talking about God, and I'm like, okay, I want to know if this God exists. I want to know for sure. So I was sitting one day in my bed and saying, okay, God, I heard that you exist, there is some super entity. If you do exist, I want to know. You need to tell me clearly. Please, no messages in the water, no signs on the street. You know, appear, tell me this is you. I just want to know, and I'm not accepting any metaphors. So I go, I'm very pragmatic, you know. If you exist and you're omnipotent, omniscient, you know, you can show yourself to me. I'm sure you can do it. Well, it did happen. In the night, I'm dreaming, but like lucid dreaming of being chased by some criminals, and suddenly appears this being in a beautiful robe, long hair, shining, and says, "Why don't you come into my house? I will protect you. You will always be safe." So I enter the house and I wake up, and I'm thinking, "Oh, I have wild imagination, of course." I asked the question, now I dream about it. And I said, well, okay, maybe it's you, but I'm not convinced. It's too easy, and maybe I'm imagining, so you should try harder, you know, just, I don't believe yet. Well, next night, I go to sleep, and again, the same thing. Same lucid dreaming, same criminals, same running. And you know, in the dream, when you're running, you can't run. You're like, have you, it happened? Yes? You're trying to run and you can't. And this guy appears again. But now he has this aureola, shining light above the head, which I have not seen before. I was not exposed to any of this religious stuff. And smiling, like cheeky smiling, like, cheeky smiling. And saying, why don't you enter into my house? I will protect you forever. And I do. And suddenly I enter into this blinding light, and I feel such bliss. And when I woke up different. I woke up with a sense of security and bliss that was beyond description. And then I said, amazing, really, there is something omnipotent, omniscient. Great, I will never worry again about anything. I'm like, you said for me to come into your house that you will protect me. Perfect. What to worry anymore? And that was it. I'm like, I accept your word by word. No, like I meant something else. No. You said what you said. And that's it. I will now believe it like this. So I started reading some texts, and interestingly, I come to this story of Joseph, whose brothers left him in the desert to die. And then one said, oh, it's very bad to kill your brother. Let's sell him to the slaves, to this caravan that's going to Egypt. So they sold him. And Joseph had a gift. He would have like visions of the future or something like this. So he ended up in Egypt. And it's a very long story. It takes like 20 years in progression. But to make it short, he manages to become like the governor of all the supplies of food of Egypt, because he had this vision, or he explained the dream of the Pharaoh that there would be like 7 years of pure abundance and then 7 years of drought and lack. So when these 7 years of nothing came, all the other people were starving because there was nothing. And Egypt had all the food because Joseph accumulated everything in these storages. So finally his brothers come to beg for the food. The father sent them. They didn't recognize him. And eventually they realize it's him, and they like fall on the ground asking for forgiveness. And he says, well, don't be silly. Don't you see the perfection of the plan? You did nothing wrong. If you had not sold me to the slaves, I would not have come to Egypt, and I would not have this post. And Egyptians would never give us the food. So our people would die. But because I'm the governor of food supplies, I have the right to give the food to my brothers and my nation. So he fed Israel, he fed the whole family and everybody, and they survived. And he had this faith that, and he said, everything always happens for the highest good. And even though if you don't know it now, wait. And over the time you will realize that whatever happened that was so bad, like your brothers selling you to the slaves, actually had a purpose, higher purpose. And after reading this story, pretty much for me that was it, you know. I accepted that whatever happens has a higher purpose and that there is a reason for it. So even this today, you know, I cannot judge things materially or just from this world. I have to always conclude that nothing happens for nothing and that there is the highest well-being for everybody involved, and something will get born, something new, something fresh, maybe some decisiveness, some self-awareness, some decision that you need to make about how you will live, how you will work from now on. Every situation molds you, and you can never say, oh, it was for nothing. It is for something. So all of this, in a way, for me was so impactful to form my direction as trusting that this intelligence that made sure that the body grows, that it operates every day, that it has air to breathe, even though I'm not paying for it, and that even things that I'm paying for are covered. If there is no economic logic, like it makes no sense, the investment you're making and what you're gaining from it is totally disproportionate, but somehow this intelligence of life provides that things can work, that not everything has to match, not everything has to be equal in proportion. Maybe one thing will be 10 to 1 and this will be 1 to 10, but eventually everything is balanced. So in this way, you really can live more peacefully, more content. Not only more peaceful or more content, is more empowered, because you will not feel like a victim of life or people or circumstances. Our job actually is to make sure that we feel empowered, because feeling empowered has nothing to do with thinking you have control. An empowered person has no need to control, because the power itself is the source of things. We control when we feel powerless. We control when we feel weak. Then control comes as a cure, like, I know I'm weak, so I should control this. You know, something is more powerful than me, I should fight it. While when you have the feeling of power, a sense of power, you realize that you don't need to fight because power is yours. There is no need to fight because your power actually overcomes the obstacle by its presence. It's like a big wave doesn't fight a small wave in the ocean. It just overtakes it. So we could say that power is greater than control. It just overtakes it. Am I making myself clear? Yes. And control comes, if we have to be technical, we could say it comes from from the lesser mind, the individual mind, the small, we can call it the smaller self, the personal self, which is just an idea, in a way. And when I say surrender, we could say I'm talking to this personal self that needs to surrender, because the true self is already, there is nobody to surrender to. But the personal self, the identity that has a name and last name and birth date and gender and preferences, this is the one that is just an idea in our head. The truth is that what exists is a human being. It was born. We are not denying that. But the person was not born. The person was created. Because the child is born without a person. Name is given after the birth. It didn't come with name in written on the forehead. and your national identity number was given to you by the government. So the government created the person. When they issued the birth certificate with the name, last name, and the number, this is the creation of the person. But the first, I don't know, 1 day or 3 days or however it takes until this paper comes, there existed a baby without the person. So the baby was born, and it is true, the person was invented. And when somebody dies, it takes few days for the court to determine that the person has ceased to exist. Even though the body died, the human being died, like today. But if it's a Sunday, the court is closed, so they will determine tomorrow that the person has ceased to exist. So do you see the discrepancy between a human being and the person that is created and believed to be true? And this is, even though it sounds like a play of words, this is so crucial in understanding of oneself. Because you, when you were a baby, you did not believe, what is your name?
Nikki.
That you are Nikki. You had no idea that you are Nikki. You never thought that you are Nikki. But because they kept repeating it, oh, Nikki, 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 oh, how beautiful, oh, Nikki, Nikki. So after like 1 year, 2 years, when somebody would say Nikki, you respond. Because usually there is some benefit, like food is coming, or a smile, or a petting, or something. But still, you don't know this is you. You're just reacting to stimuli that is connected with pleasure, let's say, with the food or with caring. Then you will start talking about Nikki in third person. This is what babies usually do. So they will say, oh, Nikki is hungry. Because still the I is not connected with the person. I exist, and that's it. I don't know who I am, but I am. But the person slowly creeps in. And then we go to kindergarten and elementary school, and we are completely fixed. Yeah. When somebody says Ivan or Nikki, you turn your head immediately because you have been trained. You have identified yourself with the name. And then you never thought about the other possibility. Do I exist without the name? Did I exist before I started reacting to the name? To this mirror, you know, because at the beginning you don't look yourself in the mirror, so you have no clue what you look like. You just have a sense of being, but you don't have the image of who you are as a person. So then you get used to the face and the mask actually that you create. And then the emotions that are prevailing, yes? So suddenly, throughout the years, the person is fully constructed. And then people say, well, I'm a shy person and a little timid, and I like dogs, I don't like cats, and things like this. So they start believing that they are this person with these preferences, these attributes of the personality, of the psyche, and they get so fixed into it that they never ask, but was I something before I started believing all these things? And this is actually a true spirituality or true awakening, is to ask these questions. Oh, who am I really? If I never look at myself in the mirror, if I don't look at the name, at the social number, at the preferences that I have accustomed. So when I say surrender to life, I'm speaking to this person. I'm saying, you believe you are a little droplet of water separate from the ocean, but there is no difference in the quality. If you analyze under microscope one drop of ocean and then other drops of ocean, they would be the same thing. And surrender simply means that the drop of the ocean falls into the ocean, and it requires no effort. It doesn't need to force itself. It just drops because gravity works. And once it's in the ocean, it requires no work to surrender to the ocean. It dissolves immediately. It becomes aware of its, let's say, eternity or presence, omnipresence. Like if you imagine a Pacific, in the middle of the Pacific, you don't see the shore, so you only see the ocean. And when a drop falls into the ocean, it becomes the ocean. But it always was the ocean. It was just separated in a way. If we apply this metaphor to us, we are never separate from the ocean, but the person feels separate. Because person is imagined. As I said, it was never born. It was made up. We are imagining, I am imagining I am Ivan Bavčević, who has certain preferences, certain habits, certain ways of speaking, or food he likes, he doesn't like. But this is just imagination. And how do we know it's imagination? Well, there are people who, for example, hit their head and forget everything. The parents, where they were born, the language, they forget, but they still exist. So you can see them. There is a human being existing, they have no identity with a personality. And usually they change. They change because these things are not fixed. We maintain them with our belief, with every day confirming, yes, this is me, this is what I like, this is what I don't like. So this confirmation every day keeps us locked in an imagination of the person. My grandmother, my mother's mother, she lived very long, 96 years. Well, the last, I don't know, maybe 5 years, she had dementia. Yes, you say it like this? She forgot. And as the years were going by, she would even forget who we are. She would speak to my mother as a childhood friend, because she regressed into the childhood. But until she started developing this dementia, she had many illnesses, allergic to everything, to milk, to this, to that, always problem with stomach. She can't eat this, she can't eat that. She gets diarrhea, she gets vomiting, blah, blah, nausea. She got dementia, everything disappeared. She ate everything. And it's incredible. This woman started drinking milk, eating things that she could never because she is allergic. She forgot she is allergic. She forgot who she is in the imagination, and what was left is just a human being existing. Okay, I'm not suggesting that we should have this oblivion. We have a mind for a reason, okay? And I'm sure she would prefer to have a healthy mind. But she was quite happy. She was laughing all day long, telling jokes. She lived 96 years in a comfortable life, no illness. She died peacefully in bed, like all you could ask for. But for me, what is so beautiful is that when she forgot that she is allergic, that things make her sick, she stopped being sick. And this, to me, was yet another confirmation, and I have read a lot about this, that our belief in the person we are maintains the person alive, maintains the separation. So, even though we are not separate from life, it's impossible to be separate from life, because we are life. This is life happening. The air being inhaled, the exchange, it's life happening. There is no way I could ever be separate from life. But the thought, I am a separate person, is the imagination, is the lie, is the cause of suffering at the end. And is something that can listen to this and realize, wow, I can surrender to something greater. And it's now difficult to say, will the person decide to surrender? Or something in us greater will realize, oh, okay, I don't need this control, I don't need this feeling of personhood. Because at the end, if the person is imagined, what can it do? It doesn't even exist. It's just imagination. So I'm speaking to something inside that is aware, the intelligence actually, provoking it to spark itself up, to remember itself. It's actually, every encounter I do with people is like is a reminder, is awakening of the memory to oneself truly, so that this awakening can produce stopping to believe in the separation, stopping to believe in the individual personhood. And I'm not saying that this person is useless. If it didn't serve a purpose, life would not make it. So it also serves a purpose. I guess when we were young, it served a purpose because, unfortunately, we are raised, or we go through a world that can be harsh, that can be inconsiderate, that can be cruel, and we create this imaginary person as a protection device to survive. So I'm not denying its purpose in life. I'm just saying we are here all old enough not to need the protection of the person to survive. We have come to the point where it's no longer necessary. It was useful when you were 3 and 5 and 10 and 15 years old. But when you are 40, 50, 60, you can't justify it anymore. Because as an adult, as a conscious being, as a powerful being at the end, you can't be hiding behind the person and its habits and its preferences. Because life is giving you an opportunity to realize yourself and to realize that if you, as the drop of the ocean, are the ocean at the end, or like if one wave is just the ocean itself moving. Do you like ocean? You have it here, right? Not far. And when you see waves coming to the shore to crash on the beach, it seems like there is thousands or millions of them approaching. And they seem separate, one bigger, one smaller, with wrinkles, but actually it's just the ocean. There is no individual beings there moving. It's the ocean itself. So if we look that we are each a wave in this ocean of life or the ocean of consciousness, we do have a form, a shape, and there seems to be one is bigger, one is smaller, one is faster, one is stronger. But at the end, it's the same thing. And now imagine if there were waves who believed that they were individual persons, that they were not an ocean. If you could speak to them and imagine that a wave passing by the shore speaks to you and says, "Oh, please, I'm looking for an ocean. Where can I find the ocean?" And you would think, "Oh, this poor chap is a little insane. You know, he's crazy. He thinks he is not the ocean. He's looking for the ocean and it is him." Just because he has a form of the wave means nothing. So just because I have form of Ivan and you of Nikki, sorry, and you of Stefan, doesn't mean we are not the life itself that is moving. It just has this shape. That's all.
But isn't it like amazing that the ocean manifests as a wave?
It is amazing.
That we see. It'd be very boring if it was an ocean with no waves.
I know. And I'm not saying that this is unnecessary. The only thing unnecessary is the belief in separation. Because waves don't believe they're separate from the ocean. They know who they are, if they would have self-awareness. So, thank God there are forms, really. I'm so happy. And I know that there is a reason why there is 7 billion people on the planet. Life wants diversity. For some reason, it pleases it. The only thing here that is redundant, I like that word with my colleague, we find reasons to use the word redundant. Yeah, the only redundant thing is thinking, "Oh, I'm separate from everything else. I'm an individual entity." No, you are a form of life, but realize that you are this life, that you are the power, actually enormous, endless, and that is moving in this form through life. It's moving in this form. It's beautiful. This will give you a sense of relaxation, a sense of worryless existence. Because you will know, even if I crash on the shore, I'm still the ocean. I'm not going to evaporate. I will just return to my original state. And I can only share my own way of living it like that, without wanting to convince anybody of that it is the right way or the only way. To me, it gives me ease, and it gives me less struggle. I can remember myself what it means to be worried. It was so long ago, the true worry, that it was so uncomfortable, so painful, that I would not want to live that again. I don't have a need for it. It's not surging out. And even though that there can come moments of disturb, yes, they do. I'm not denying this. If you give me like a news that might be problematic or something, I will feel this surge of energy. But it is not something that overwhelms or lasts. We are talking about minutes maybe, in worst case hours of something. And then they disappear because there is the awareness, I am the ocean. And this wave is gonna survive it all. It doesn't matter the wave, I am the ocean. So even if the wave disappears, I still exist as me. And I will go through everything. And then remembering that natural elements, that earth spins, that all works, again reinforces, wow, are you really concerned with this little passing thing? When the earth keeps spinning no matter what, and something makes sure it does, and that your heart is still beating and you have gone through everything, isn't that more important than this little thing? So it gives me like, okay, I can surrender more. I can trust this intelligence. And still that does not mean I'm not careful. My spiritual teacher would tell us ABC of life. He would repeat it often. Always be careful. And then we said, but Swami, didn't you say that we should trust and surrender? And he said, yes, but that doesn't exclude being careful. He said, you have to go through, you have to keep going. But if you come to a crossing on the road, you have to look left, right, and then cross. Don't cross without looking. That means to be careful. Don't stop yourself from crossing the street, but be careful when you're crossing the street. Otherwise, a car can hit you. So, being careful does not mean being worried. It just means being prudent, being aware that life keeps going. Maybe there is a crocodile in the river. Well, check it before you swim in it, if it's the natural habitat, okay? Just be careful. And sometimes there is a confusion, especially in spirituality, that, oh, I'm a child of God and I can be reckless. Yes, you can be. And many times it will work. You will be saved. But sometimes no. Yeah, you should not test. Because being careful, being caring, being mindful, that would be the right word, is just a part of the intellect. It's part of having a human mind. And being aware where you are, in which situation you are. So, I don't know, I just wanted to say this. That being careful is part, let's say if we have the responsibility, like chewing and swallowing, Being careful would be one. Not being worried, just being careful. And not allowing it to paralyze you. Being so careful that you don't do anything ever. That's contrary to life again. And for me, this is a dance. I feel myself dancing on a rope with two extremes, the abyss of being preoccupied, worried, paralyzed by worry, or being so like blasé or Mediterranean, okay, being so Mediterranean that I enter into troubles. And I have had my shares of troubles that came out from not being careful. In such a way that I had to accept the lessons. Yes, accept the lessons that sometimes intuition tells you, and you should not confuse it with worrying. Not confuse intuition warning you with worrying, because they can be so close. But this is the art of life. And people ask me, how will I learn it? Well, theoretically, nobody can teach you. You just have to make enough mistakes to test the system and say, oh, actually, this was not worrying. It was intuition warning me. Okay, I will remember this feeling in this situation, and if it comes again, I will intend to remember it. Well, probably next time you will not get it as well, so you will make a mistake. But then again, remember, oh my God, it was the same feeling, and I didn't listen to it, just like the first time. Okay, I'm getting better. I'm really learning to remember, learning to feel it. Eventually you'll get it. And luckily we have enough years of life to practice. Imagine if you lived, I don't know, 30 years. Pretty much you wouldn't get it. So now that life expectancy in Europe is so long, we have greater chances of becoming masters of life. Stefan, what do you think?
Yes, I agree. Yeah, that's what you say about the intuition and worry. Yeah, because I think I have these sort of intuitions, and then they turn into worries immediately. Like, normally about very practical things, because I trust the big picture in the sense that kind of everything is for a reason, and everything is kind of, well, is coming to a greater goodness, and I know that. It's the little details and the practical things where I worry. Oh, did I make the right decision? Did I? And then I kind of think, oh, how do I respond to that situation? And then I worry about my character. I worry about conflict, anything that involves any potential conflict, even if there's no conflict necessarily there, just the imagination of conflict, the imagination of conflict that creates this worry. So, and that, so it's not really existential worry, or maybe it is, but if I'm kind of, I trust that life is as it's meant to be, but it's the sort of the kind of practical things about how you're dealing with situations and tenants, and how you're dealing with people who owe you money, and how you're dealing with work and travel, and which flight to book and that sort of thing. I normally kind of like, oh, what am I supposed to do? But if I could just trust that intuition before it becomes a worry, just trust the intuition, that there is an intuition there, but normally I don't actually believe there's an intuition, so I think I have to work it out, and then try to work it just get more worried because I don't know if I'm making the right decision, right working out or not. But really, there's an intuition, but I'm a bit out of touch with the intuition, which means that too many thinking goes on.
So when will you stop believing that? That there is no intuition?
Yeah.
Today?
Maybe today.
That would be nice.
Yes. I can tell I can sense the intuition, but then I doubt it, and then I kind of. But anyway, yeah, maybe you're right. Just to be in touch with it. And
Admit it.
yeah.
When it comes, speak it out. Say it. Oh, what I'm getting now is that I should not trust this person, or that I should not enter that project, or that okay, I'm becoming aware of it, and I'm acknowledging its presence, and I will take it into account. I'm not gonna deny it nor suppress it, nothing. Yes, it is here, present. This is telling me this. Thank you. Thank you for telling me. If you speak it out, if you admit it to yourself, otherwise, if it stays in the head, it just keeps spinning.
Turns into.
And that's where doubt comes.
Yeah, the doubt. Yeah, and then you kind of think about it too much, basically. And if you think about it too much, it stops being an intuition, and it starts to become a pros and cons, and this and that, and that could be it, and that could be it, and the intuition is lost.
And the intuition, it wants you to risk. In one situation, you will just have to accept it and say, okay, this came as the intuitive impulse. I admitted it. Okay, and say, I will follow it now. This is the risk, but I have to follow it. If I never follow, I have to do it now with this and say no. Yes. That's a surrender. Surrender is not, oh look, there is a bed here, warm, and I'm gonna surrender. That's not a surrender. Okay? No, surrender is, oh, I don't see what is here. I don't see what is here, but I'm guided to go there. I accept that whatever is guiding me to go there knows what it's doing. Yes. I am here with you as a result of that. Really, like, how can we logically explain this? Why should I be in Ireland? I don't know. I don't have groups here, like in Spain or in Slovenia or in Croatia, where I have my schools. It's, for me, it's no surrender to go to Spain. I go there, and I know I have full room. If I teach at the university, I have 200 people. Great. Everything makes sense financially, logistically, successfully. In every sense, it makes. I don't. What do I need to surrender there? It's working by itself. Oh, but when something comes, like, let's go in talking to her, okay, to Cork, or when she existed to Dublin. Honestly, for me it was like, no, we don't need to go to Dublin. It's enough that we have this in Cork. No. She said 3 times. No, you should go. I said, but you don't need to make any effort. She insisted. I have what is waiting for us there. Maybe also, if I will not trust that in the moment when the decision was made, which was 2 months ago. It's easy to say now, like last week, oh, things are complicated, people are not applying, we don't know anybody there. If we were going to make this decision a month ago, we would not have come to Ireland. 2 weeks ago, we would not have come to Ireland. 2 months ago, when the decision was made, everything conspired to make the decision. So I can't now go back and say, oh, but it was wrong. No, in the moment when the decision was made, all the energy, all the things that life conspired were leading you to make that decision, and you made it. Then just accept. And if you go through it completely and you live the consequences of that decision, the consequence will teach you everything you need. Not thinking about it. Sometimes we make a decision, then halfway through we regret, and then we find a way to escape doing it so that we would avoid the consequence of the decision made. And life says, sorry dear, but the only thing I require of you is to live the consequences of choices. This is, I think, the first message in my book that comes. What life expects of you. Life expects nothing except for you to go through the consequences of the choices, because the consequence will give you the value. Because the consequence, the experience of your choice is so powerful, you cannot keep it in your head as a thought. You can't be imagining it, you are living it through every cell of your body, through your emotions, through pain, through pleasure, and then the experience says, look, remember now the moment of choice, remember in which state you made the choice, and look at now the consequence of that choice. You can't escape it. And when you live through it, when you feel it, then you learn, then you say, okay, now I know. Now I can connect the dots. But if it only stays in the head, it's just your imagination. You're continuously...
But then if one has to live through the consequences, I get a bit cowardly and I get a bit nervous about making choices, because every choice has a consequence, and then so you kind of think, oh my god.
It's right, it's wrong.
It's kind of but
Yes.
anyway, it's but yeah, in the end, you, I think you have to make a choice in the end, in a restaurant. Sometimes I go into the restaurant, I'm one of those types who can't eat this, can't eat that, and I go into the restaurant and menus there. Oh my god, it's good. It's like going on a minefield in Bosnia or something. It's kind of like gonna order something that's gonna make me ill. So I then sort of get all nervous when I go into a restaurant. But anyway, it's like, but maybe I'm exaggerating. Sometimes you exaggerate a tendency because it's there. The tendency is there, but you're not normally aware of it. You pretend you're not nervous. You pretend, oh, I'm okay, I'm cool. I can just choose what I like. And there's a bit that's saying, oh no, if I make the wrong choice, I'm in trouble.
Well, I can tell you that what we like to do is to speak it all out. So, when this comes, if you're not alone, you can entertain the other person in the restaurant and say, man.
I don't know. My husband is. I think you're very good at giving voice to a tendency in my husband that is quite unlike me. And he does speak it out, and sometimes I really don't want to hear it, and it's very difficult to stop the endless worrying out loud. I think I want to say, go and make a decision and come back to me when you've made one. I don't think. Yeah, I find it difficult to listen to.
That's different, but he finds it
Your arguing
easy.
of it. He would worry. Well, he worries. He'll worry to himself. He's on his own a lot of the time. But then when he's with me, he takes the opportunity to take it all out. And
You don't have to take it on.
sometimes it's just I'm too tired, and I want to say. Before you walked into the room, I had a head full of thoughts, and I'm not ready to put them down right now. Can you just give me 5 minutes? And then it's fine, actually. Then he understands. Then I feel bad, and I collect myself, and then I'm ready to listen. And it does help then, yes.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Make
Be
it
ready before-
funny. Make it funny.
That actually is brilliant.
That's,
Make it funny. Don't make a big drama out of it. Yeah.
that's point.
I mean, I am lucky to have a colleague with me on these travels, and whenever silly control mechanisms or fears surge out, I would just say, oh, I know this is ridiculous, but I'm now feeling like nervous for making this decision because blah, 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 and we laugh it through. Okay? Just don't take it seriously. You have to laugh it through. It's idiotic stuff. Has nothing to do with reality. And if you believe it, you're making yourself weak. Cowardice belongs to personality, not to spirit. Spirit has nothing to do with cowardice. It's pure bravery, pure valor. Yes. Okay? So when you see the person afraid, it's just the person afraid.
When you see yourself afraid, you mean?
When you see fear coming out, is your personality being afraid, the mask you have constructed. Stefan, person. Okay? And there can be reason.
Yes, there's memories, because we
I know.
carry these memories that go back, and
I know.
sometimes we don't even know where they go back to. So there's a sort of, the person is kind of reacting again with memories all the time as well.
Well, if we do have workshop tomorrow, we are going to work with this stuff from the past in the process of letting it go and surrendering it, because it's just memories written into the hard disk of your mind. There is a way to delete them. Hard disk doesn't have unlimited storage. It gets clogged. And living in presence requires this, eliminating majority of stuff that does not belong to the now. Yeah. This is technical stuff. This is not even anything about awareness or consciousness. It's just emotional work, work with the mind. And this is like programming a computer. This is not science fiction, it's just science. Mathematics and physics. Majority of things in our life can be solved with physics. Understanding how physics work. I'm sorry, I can't teach everything in one evening. It takes time, but it is simple. These things that you say that come up, there are ways, very efficient ways, that all of that goes away, that you start feeling yourself as the free human being. Yeah, not conditioned by any of that.
And just being in the moment, just doing what you have to do, and just doing it without
and accepting. If your body is conditioned not to take certain food, okay, you're not going to make a big deal out of it. You accept this is the fact of this body at the moment. I don't know if this is the truth, but at the moment it's like this.
But also like my wife, she has like intuition what she wants to eat, and it's bizarre. You just eat what has to be eaten. It's in the fridge and it's eaten. so like it's got, how am I supposed to know what I want to eat? I eat what's there. so totally different way of responding to life. And one is just dealing with the facts. One's following some sort of intuition, and sometimes you need a bit of both in the sense that anyway, but probably the intuition's a bit more kind of responsive to the reality rather than the objective facts. I tend to be dominated by objective things like that's that. And me, it's got very little to do with any of it. It's just facts. And then sort of, but there's a sort of kind of, there is a me in the middle of it. It's just, it hides away behind all these things, like things to do. That I get up in the morning, I have my things to do, and then there's like, and then I get to but then I just do the things I have to do, and they're not too bad doing them really. It's the worrying about them which is much worse. But then the problem is these things to do get so dominant that I don't really know how to not do. I just do until I drop. And then you don't know how to relax, basically.
Yes. I'm sorry to hear. It sounds awful. Okay. Okay. But maybe start with one thing. When you hear yourself saying have to, ought to, there is nothing I have to. Okay, fuck it. This is. There is nothing I have to, only what I choose to. So, nothing has to change in the way that day is full at the beginning. Maybe all the have to's, I don't know, all the activities will remain. The first step is for you not to think you have to do them, but to start saying, today I'm choosing to do this. Today I'm choosing this. Because I have to is the victim, I choose to is the empowered individual. You want to be empowered, you don't want to be a victim. Okay? Even though technically everything will still be there to be done, the space from which you are doing it is completely different. One, you are a victim, another, you are empowered being, is like two different universes. Okay? Then, as you are choosing to do stuff, you will realize, if I'm choosing to do this, I can also choose not to do this. That's the second step. Yeah, and eventually, you will be choosing not to do some things. Wow. Or choosing to do them differently. You will start wondering, is there a way to do this differently? Is there a way to do this faster? Is there a way that somebody else does this instead of me? You would not believe, but we had a retreat now in Spain. and came people from different parts. One lady came from France. She is retired, has enough of years in life, has enough wealth. And the problem was about having to clean an enormous house and cook for her and the husband who is ill and this. And many things, and a huge property. And I said, but here, can't you hire somebody to come once, twice a week and clean the house? And you can see on her face, she's like, yes, I can. And I said, so why don't you do enough money, you are secure, why should you be cleaning this house yourself? And she's like, it's just, I've been always doing it and it didn't occur to me. I said, well, don't you see when your have to's turn into I choose to? Because this was the exercise. I asked them to write all the have to's. And she said, I have to clean, I have to do. And I said, can you say I choose to? And then she said, I choose not to. She felt empowered because, and then I said, okay, but if these things should be done and you choose not to, what is another solution? Can't you hire somebody? Oh my God. Like, don't you have like 50 euros to pay somebody to come and clean? Yes, I do have. Well, there it is. Once you are empowered, suddenly you see possibilities that you didn't see when you had to do it. Okay? These are, it seems ridiculous, but it's a world of difference. It's so beautiful how simple it is. And I assure you, every day I get thoughts or words that we speak to each other as colleagues. Oh, today we have to. And then stop, think, what do we choose? Am I choosing to do this or no? And is there another way to do it? And is there somebody who could do it? And if we start to discuss, we start to find possibilities beyond what was available when we had to do it. Okay? Well, this has not so much to do with surrender to life, but it is useful for daily life. Okay? What time do we have? 9:23. Okay. Well, I propose that we close with a little guided process. I'm sorry.
Is there a toilet?
Yeah. You go that back. Just go through the kitchen, but it's right opposite the other side.
And as we relax our face, our jaw, we relax the shoulders and the arms. We feel the chair below the body and the floor below the feet. And with every exhale, we feel like sinking into relaxation. And we simply say, I allow this intelligence of the universe to guide me. I allow the highest of me to bring me everything I need. And to take me everywhere I need to go. And feel as if you're floating on the surface of a warm sea. As if in the arms of a great being. Life itself embraces you. And you say to it, I allow you to take me to all the places. And to all the people. And keep relaxing, keep exhaling. Keep relaxing in this embrace, in this carrying you. I allow you to take me to all the experiences. and to everything I need. To live my life on earth. And if you notice any resistance, any tension, anything coming up in your stomach, in your chest, in your muscles, breathe into that resistance, into that tension, and exhale it, letting it flow. Simply saying, I let go of my control of this tension. I let go of my attachment to feeling like this. It has no more purpose in my life. I let it go. I simply surrender to the present moment with everything it has. And with deeper inhales, we bring the attention to the whole body in this space. Thank you for your participation today.
Thank you for that.